So I want to talk about something that I've talked about before, but it's the question of about the power of God itself, as to not the question as whether He exists, but if He did exist, um, or if He does exist. I'm not gonna discuss any issues as to whether He does or not yet, or not in this video. I want to discuss if He were to exist, or if He did exist. What would His power be like? What would His omnipotence be like? Um, and I want to talk about as to how that relates to logic. You can understand how, in logic, well, according to Wittgenstein, you can only understand things inside of logic. You cannot understand or even conceive of something that is outside of logic. You cannot. It's not even possible. And in Wittgenstein's Tractatus, he does have a certain part in there where he kind of, sort of, brings up a little bit the idea of as to whether God is inside, or as to whether God were to be, as to whether God would to be inside or outside of logic, and he says it would have to be inside of logic because it's not possible for us to conceive of, or for there even to be any power or knowledge or anything, or be or really anything at all that would be outside of logic. And I kind of want to sort of talk about that a little bit and think about it a little bit more. And I think that, in my opinion, the power of God and the omnipotence that he is characterized as having in the Bible, I think that characterizes, I think that makes him to have a power, a omnipotence that is outside of logic. Not as to whether not the question as to whether it's logical or rational to believe in him. That's that's a religious epistemological question. This question is God inside or outside or outside of logic in his omnipotence. I think the omnipotence that he's characterized as having in the Bible classifies him as being outside of logic, because in the Bible, the logic that us here on Earth all think of and use in our daily lives is one that God goes outside of. There are things about God that we don't understand. One thing might be that how it says in the Bible that God never had a beginning, nor will He ever have an end. It's conceivable that He will never have an end, but it's not conceivable that He would that He has never had a beginning. That's hard. That's almost an illogical thing to claim. You cannot conceive of that inside of logic. However, Wittgenstein was saying that it's not possible for anything to be if it's outside of logic. It's not possible for us to even think about it. It's not possible for us to even think about it. And I think that when Christians, people who have accepted Jesus and God, go to heaven, then we will understand God's true nature, which does exist outside of our logical, the logical skeleton of our language and our thought. Because many things about God that we are taught in the inside of the Christian religion do not fall inside of logic at all. And I think Wittgenstein is almost saying that if there were to be God, he would have to fall inside of those logical guidelines. say, no, I don't. I think that a pantheistic God would have to fall inside of logical God lines, because a pantheistic God is one that is inside of this world. Not, he's either not omnipotent or not omniscient. He gives up one of those um, theistic characteristics of God. Um, but I've also been thinking about God and set theory, and I'm thinking about set theoretic realism, and as to the God set itself. Um, since I took philosophy of religion a few years ago, um, I've thought about the God set quite a bit, and I've used predicate logic to sort of try to extrapolate a God set, and to sort of think about it and write it down, and sort of think about what is included in the God set. And I sort of have in a notebook somewhere around here. I have probably like 6 pages full of stuff about the God set that I've thought about way back when. I have a lot of notebooks that I've saved from my classes, and just stuff I've thought about that I haven't in notebooks around here. So that, I think, is a good thing to think about, especially if you're thinking about logic and God. I think another issue about logic and God is whether it is logical or rational to believe in Him. That's like I said, it is an issue that belongs to the subset of epistemology, or the sub branch of epistemology called religious epistemology. Um, I've talked a lot. I've talked a good amount about that. But this is an issue about His nature, and as to if He is if he is before logic, if he is outside of it. And I would say yes. Comment below what you're thinking.